Okay.
Because, okay, you can put it in there. Those are the ones with seeds. These all look like they might have seeds. Do you want me to open another one for you?
Welcome everybody to Miracles, Magic, and Coffee. I am Ralph Havens and this is Jen. And we're going to go ahead and put this in an email to everybody.
And Baden.
And Baden. And we're excited because we're going to have Dr. Tom Giammatteo on in a little bit.
He's back in the mix. We're excited to get that started up again this year.
Come over here, Baden. You can say hi.
Hi.
There's Baden. Okay. Let's see. Did we do this one? I think I did. So everybody that's on our list will get an email in just a little bit. And if you're not on the list, you can go to ralphhavens.com/miracles, magic, and coffee. And let's see. Save. Okay, we should be good to go. Okay, so we're going to have Tom on in just a little bit.
You want an apple? Okay.
I don't know what that's about, but we'll let that go. Okay, so that's right. Let's see, let's get everybody on here. So we're, there's a lot of stuff that's been in the news lately. And I think I'll be able to see, I'm not sure if I'll be able to see comments yet. They might be disabled. Let me just see if I can do this.
We want to see our comments.
Yeah, we have to do this. So I think you'll be able to put comments in the YouTube. If not, we'll just we'll look later also. Okay, so let me just go back here. And we'll just let that go. So we should be on. So we're going to have Tom Giammatteo on in just a little bit. And, there's been some stuff in the news recently with that coronavirus that's in China and people are dying. And so it is a serious thing. And one thing that we noticed, we were watching our favorite news show, The High Wire with Del Bigtree. And they had Dr. James Lyons-Weiler, a PhD in infectious disorders and all that kind of stuff. And he was saying that the sequencing, the DNA sequencing of that coronavirus, they're finding a certain snippet of it that has the SARS virus, which is, that respiratory virus from years ago. And so he said it's definitely a man-made version of this coronavirus. And so they're right now in our country, they're trying to make vaccines for coronavirus, and they've been doing it for a long time. And in China, there was a patented thing that they developed to insert the SARS DNA into it. So whatever that is, it's out there. It's a man-made version of it. And he was saying it's either because a vaccine version of that virus got out, or they actually vaccinated people in China, and now we're seeing the repercussions of that, or maybe it's a biological warfare thing. He doesn't know, but he did say,
or a mistake made by a lab. Like it was obviously like this one chunk was manipulated. It was from a laboratory, so somehow it is in the virus that has gotten out. So it may have been an accident. It may have been purposeful. Was what he was saying. We can't tell right now.
We can't tell, but it's definitely man-made. He said there's zero chance that it was just a wild version of the coronavirus. So so scary stuff. And we'll have Tom on in a little bit. And one thing that we see in our way of helping people with their healing is the idea that with our work, with Dr. Tom's work, we're not trying to kill a virus. We're not trying to go in there and yank a virus out or stop a virus. There's so many viruses and bacteria all over the world all the time, and they're even in our bodies. And so the idea that we're going to go and try to kill a virus or get rid of a virus or do something like that, that's not quite the version that we use. And so that's why we say we don't heal anybody. Of course, the person's body heals. And so what we're going to do, with our work is to help people get healthier so that they can be in the world and work with that.
And
So
their body can take care of it the way we were designed to.
yeah. So we're just waiting for Dr. Tom. He should be on any second now.
Well, and one thing we were kind of pondering this morning, and I feel like it's relevant here is, I feel like this is an opportunity for us as humanity. I kind of have been thinking lately that humanity is a little bit in adolescence with some of our mindsets. Like, we're so excited that we are empowered to do certain things. Like, it is really cool that we can manipulate viruses and we have that technology. But with that technology and with that power comes responsibility. And I think that's moving into adulthood. And I think it would be interesting. This is an opportunity I feel, for humanity to kind of recognize that maybe it would be really great for us and beneficial for us to start moving into more of an adult mindset where we realize that, yes, we have this technology, yes, we have this power, but with that comes a responsibility and an acknowledgement that just because we have it doesn't necessarily mean we should use it. If we weren't making these viruses, they couldn't escape. And I know it's tricky because it's a little bit like nuclear weapons. If we're not working on designing them, another country might be, and they might have a weapon they can use against us. But at the same time, I just think that might be something to ponder as humanity is, just because we can do something, does that mean that we should do something? And is there a time and a place for certain things? So I don't know. I just think it's an interesting concept to be thinking about, when things like this come up, where something that is man-made is really causing a problem. And I don't know, I love that about the ICAN,
the
ICAN
nonprofit.
nonprofit that Del Bigtree has set up, is he's really looking at man-made disease and can we eradicate man-made disease? Like, let's look at how much of our problems we are creating ourselves. And I think a lot of them stem from chemicals and corporations. And I think if we can look honestly at that, we may be able to restructure things so that we can use those things in a little more discerning of a way and beneficial of a way, and not just kind of creating more problems for ourselves all the time. So I think there's Tom.
Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. Oh, I gotta turn this up.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Yep.
So,
Enable a video over here. Something talking permitted, but
let's see. I'll promote to panelists. Let's see what happens.
I think that's worked before. I think we refigure it out each time.
Let's see. Ask to start video. Okay, here goes.
Host has asked you to start video. Okay.
And there he is.
All right. Hello, Tom.
Hi, guys.
Straight from
How are
West
you?
Hartford, Connecticut and the world. Dr. Tom Mateo. So this is a really good one. I'm glad you suggested this one because it's all in the news, the coronavirus. And we were telling everybody that Del Bigtree was talking to that scientist, what's his name again?
James Lyons Weiler.
Yeah, and he checked the DNA sequencing, and the coronavirus has it's definitely not a wild strain. It's they've inserted a SARS component into it, and so it's either a vaccine that got out or a vaccine that they used to
Mutated.
test something, but it's like it's got some problems, or maybe it's biological warfare, but who knows? He doesn't know, but he just says it's definitely not wild, and so we were telling everybody before you got on about how we kind of think of the body. We're not trying to kill this thing when we see it, or somebody has a problem with the virus. There's a different approach. So we're all ears, and I know you've got some stuff for us about how to boost your immune system, and so yeah, anything you want to start with.
Well, hi, everybody. And, this virus started in China probably around Christmas time, and we started hearing it here in the news. And I had to write a white paper from the IM integrated manual therapy perspective from the school to remind all my patients and students that we've heard this song before in the SARS virus and in the bird flu scenario. And so that's when my wife Sharon and I actually started developing our nutrition program and supplement program. And you remember, Ralph, we had this combination of all these different brands of supplements called the Thymus Protocol, where it'd be like 10 different tablets that would make it all perfect to support immune system. And we developed that to prevent SARS and HIV and the bird flu area, because some of our students actually caught it and died. I remember 2 students up in Canada passed away from that process.
From which one?
The bird flu.
The bird flu. Wow.
So we have this amazing tool that we invented. I needed to get it out to and find out the newer tools in there to do that. So IMT Wellness Supplement Company has now a tablet called Immune Regen, and it was designed to help the body recognize the virus and then be able to help prevent it from invading the body at the same time. So if you want to, if people want to share, you can pass that whole PDF on to people.
I will. Yeah, you sent us a few things, so I'll send everything over.
Yeah. So I gave some acupressure points, which we call processing points, where you can hold different parts of the organs in the body, and they will help immune system as step 1. And then I suggested some of the herbs in our nutritional line to do number 2 for that process of how to prevent this. But I think if we start now, you know, there's maybe I know in the state of Connecticut, there's 6 or 7 people being under quarantine, and then California's got this whole group of people that came off the plane that are quarantined from it. So if we start our immune system now, it would be preventable and for most people. Because if you have a really good immune system, you should fight off a lot of things.
What would be what do you think, what's the old vehicle, or what's the vehicle that most people are using now when they think of like the coronavirus, for example? Like, what is the regular medical system tend to do with that, or think about that?
A lot of my clients here have been, they go in with a cold. You know, if I really look back, this flu season, they're not calling it a flu, but a lot of my clients have gotten a cold, and it seems to jump between having a little bit of a upper chest cold, and then they go to the doctor, they get something, and then it goes into their sinuses, and then in the sinuses it keeps coming, it jumps back and forth, and it's been persistent for like 4 to 6 weeks on a lot of things. So a lot of patients have been put on things called Z-Paks, which is it's a very strong antibiotic that will clean up a mycobacterium type of process. But the biggest thing we could tell people is if you have to go to the doctor and you get an antibiotic, go out and buy a probiotic at least, or have a fresh live culture yogurt every day. So that, because the antibiotic is killing off the good bacteria in the system plus the bad bacteria in the system. So when they stop the antibiotic, all the bad bugs like to come in first. So get on a probiotic and stay on it for a good month after you've been off the antibiotic daily, or sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. And a good cultured yogurt would do that too for most people. Yeah.
Cool. And why would they give a antibiotic? Isn't that for bacteria? And isn't the coronavirus or those kind of viruses, aren't they viruses?
Yeah, and that's another thing. If they present with a bacterial infection, the fever is a little bit lower. It's not over 100. You know, the traditional medicine says bacterial infections, you go over 104, and viruses, you stay between 100 and 102 degrees. And sometimes they even have swabs to check out if you have the virus or the flu. And they can run that test in a little bit too. But there is an antiviral that they'll give out. I'm not sure of the name on that. But even if they're giving an antiviral, I still like to amp up the probiotics in the system. Just it's putting good bacteria in to help digest your food and help keep your immune system healthy at the same time.
That makes sense. And when you had those 2 students, two IMT practitioners in Canada that actually died from the bird flu. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you your journey, like that sounds like a call to action, like it must have stirred you and Sharon to
Well,
start.
that was the call to action, because we just, we heard these words, what's SARS, what's, bird flu. And we were passive, right? And we didn't have anything to support anybody with. And then, oh my God, Joe Smith just passed away from being, there was a zone in Toronto that actually had this area, just like China does, that he was in that zone, and it was like, oh, he's a healthy acupuncturist. He should be able to tolerate this stuff. And then a week later, we heard he passed away from that whole process. So it was in that call to action that we really wanted to develop this and get it stronger, and start to help we got the fear of how did this healthy person catch this disease. That was practicing good diet, practicing his West Eastern medicine philosophies, and he got it. So what can we do to help all that?
And there was
throughout our
10 products in it. Like, how did you guys start to go down that road of figuring this thing out?
Well, the field I like to call nutrition that I put myself under the umbrella is called functional medicine. And in our school, we have a functional medicine department actually teaching you how to use nutrition. And Ralph, you've learned a few parts of this along the way. But when somebody comes into the school, we just don't tell them vitamin C is good for a cold. Vitamin C and calcium are like biochemistry. And then you have herbal medicine, you have Chinese medicine, you have German herbs, you have South American herbs, you have Brazilian Amazon herbs. And what we did over our journey of 30 years is we went in and found the experts and studied with them. And one of the examples is echinacea. You've heard of that before, right? But that was the first place they ever found echinacea was in the United States. It was an American Indian herb. And so they found that would boost the immune system. And Dr. Rob, I can't remember his last name, was teaching us about American herbs. And he said, echinacea really does good, but in Indian medicine, the healing property is only in the root. It's not in the flower and it's not in the stem. And these modern day nutrition companies are just grinding up the whole plant and thinking it's medicinal. And he said, if you actually get the root and you chew on an echinacea root, it tingles your tongue because the bioflavonoids in there that are the immune supporters actually make your tongue numb. And so like GNC and all the grocery store companies will say, we have echinacea, but they'll say they have echinacea flower. And that's not really therapeutic for the immune system.
Interesting.
So we put those things into this whole process. So in our immune regen, we first started to say, okay, what good things can we do? And we started off with an herb that used to be called mitochondria resuscitate that gave the mitochondria the energy to help out. And so we need every cell to make all its best potential. So why not stimulate the mitochondria? And then we found that one of the key factors was called glutathione. And glutathione is a protein that's found in really good beef and some dark green vegetables, but we weren't getting enough. So we would try to give it a glutathione supplement, but we found that it gets better absorbed through the skin than in the gut. And how does the body make glutathione? Well, there's another one called NAC. So if you give people NAC, their glutathione goes up in their body. And we found that this was a really cool thing, Ralph, is that if you think of our bodies as being 700 trillion cells, they all have to live together. So every cell is watching the other guy and making sure of it. So every cell is a filter for everybody else.
What is every cell is looking at the other cell and then making decisions about what to do?
Well, they're a community, right? So every cell, it's just like us. We breathe in air and we blow it back out again. So we take in the oxygen, but we put out CO2. But our lungs are also taking the dust out of the air.
Oh yeah.
We're sort of a filter for the earth. We're helping clean the earth. as we're taking in the air and out. We drink some water, it comes out as urine. That's like we're processing things in our body.
Yeah.
So every cell is processing for the good and the whole for the rest of the body.
Wow.
So if you go back to like malaria and AIDS, they hide behind a cell. So they jump into a cell and they shut off the wall so the white blood cells can't see it and smell it. So they can grow behind the wall. And then when they're finished, they explode and they go invade other people.
Interesting.
So if the cell was healthy enough, it would send out a signal, say, help me, white blood cells, kill me because I'm dying. And that's called an efflux pump in the cell wall. And you need glutathione to increase the efflux pump. So in the immune regen, there's glutathione that makes the cell pump out better so that if it's sick, it can get destroyed before it takes over the rest of the body.
Wow, what a selfless little cell.
Yeah. So, disease processes, I've learned how to do that they get under the covers so they can't be seen by the red, white blood cells. So that's one thing I think the immune regen brings to nutrition that really wasn't there before, is like it's cleaning out every cell and making the cells, like if I'm sick, the virus will shut that down so the white blood cells can't take care of it, right? So we're about a community of cells.
Yeah, it kind of makes it so that each cell can talk to each other and they all know what's good for the whole body.
Right.
Wow. So the strategy you found was to help the cells to get healthy enough so that they could talk to each other, and these tuberculosis and other bugs couldn't hide and avoid destruction.
Right. So if we really think about China, right, Ralph, if
Yeah.
we have this city that has like 200 people that have died from the viruses and there's other people trying to help them, if this was like a super atomic bomb or, like a man-made poison, our bodies wouldn't be able to defend on it. So some people, why don't they get sick and they can be around it, and other people do get sick? So the question is, to me, has always been, what made the person that got sick, what made their immune system get weak?
Right.
Or what weaknesses did they have in their body that allowed the virus to sneak in and overwhelm them, type of thing. So all the things in the pack that I talk about are just trying, let's get you stronger and healthier. Let's make sure that, we can have you got your armor iron so that when the virus knocks on your door, you can push it off even easier.
So that's awesome. So if you had a framework or a strategy, because I know there's different components, like sugar, doesn't sugar turn off the ability of it kind of like kills white blood cells also? It kind of hurts things?
Yeah, there are papers that said if you're having a teaspoon of white sugar in your coffee, it will actually shut off the white blood cells. They go numb for about a half hour to 45 minutes. So if you have a coffee in the morning, a soda at lunch, and a coffee before dinner, and then you go have a pop at dinner time, you've had 5 doses of knocking your whole immune system out throughout the day, right?
Yeah. And then I heard somebody, I forgot who, said it's not flu season, it's low vitamin D and sugar season.
Absolutely. And we've talked about this in other talks that one of my teachers brought up that the flu seems to come on stronger, one, because we get darkness and we're going into less sunlight and less outside activity. 2, if you think about it, every other week since Halloween, there's been sugar around our tables. So
Yeah.
Halloween, Thanksgiving parties, then your holidays. So by the time we get out of New Year's and come back from all the stress of even family relationships that can go on, our immune system's pretty well beat up. And then
Yeah, that's a good point. Like even our interactions, if you're really stressed around some people, that has an effect on your immune system, huh?
Right. So, and we use sugar and wheat and gluten to numb ourselves up. Right. So we're trying, I also describe it as like, okay, Halloween's around and you see that one Hershey Kiss and you put it in your mouth, and then somebody has a bowl of them and next day you have to go and you get another one because you just see it. And by the 3rd day, you're like, how do I get by that person's desk so I can grab 2 of them, 3 of them?
Yeah. I remember when I had my clinic in San Diego, it was so funny. We had Children's Hospital wanted to do a fundraising thing, so they put an M&M machine, a quarter, and you can get a little handful of M&Ms in our office. And at some point, one of our clients said, "Why are you guys putting that there? Because that's so against your idea." But for years, I remember I could tell me and our therapist Beth, who you probably remember from, who was also an IMTer, you could tell it was the end of the day and we were doing our notes because you could hear the little machine go 2 or 3, 4 times, and it's like, oh, it's a 4-quarter day today. And then I go home and I would enjoy having a Coca-Cola while I made my dinner, if you can imagine that. And it's like, I remember I was at a conference this last week, and this one guy is dealing with anxiety and sweaty hands. And I was like, it's something I've fixed for myself, and one of the things I remember when we were in Boulder or somewhere, and we were ready to get back on a plane after a class, what was her name? The little Japanese lady that looked like Yoda. Reiko. She looked at me and she goes, "Oh my God, your pancreas is just like exudating, like basically breaking down and oozing all over the place." And as I ate my M&Ms, and so one of the things that I did to get well on so many levels was to quit eating sugar. We used to do those 3-month elimination diets, and doing a few of those just kind of grooved me into, I don't do processed sugar really anymore. And so if you so that was just big for me to see that, sugar has a big impact on health. What would you say, like, if somebody had from like the up 30,000 foot level, maybe just the strategy first of like when we've got the immune regen and the immune the GI regen and anything else you want to talk about, but also and sugar free and watching your relationships with people, what would you say is the overreaching framework, like the 7-point system or 7-point framework or 9 points, or like what are the things just to like, okay, check these off: gluten, sugar, what's your framework?
So we want to be extra healthy, right? So I would try to eat as many fresh green vegetables as you can, and avoid anything that has sugar in it. Next step is, my favorite 4 are stay away from sugar, gluten, peanuts, and almonds, because those seem to really irritate the nervous system. And we found again that if you got off of those purely, the dairy allergies would go away and a lot of the other things would go away. Then if you're looking at,
when you say let's go through it just a little bit to start with. So gluten, I know that's 100% thing, like get off of it 100%. Sugar, processed sugar, how 100% is it? Is it like, well, if you have a little Thai food with a little sugar in it, or a little something with a teeny bit of sugar, it's okay? Or are we talking 100% for sugar also?
100% for sugar. What I like for sweeteners in my life are honey and maple syrup, some dates, and some fruit juice.
So 100% besides that.
Excuse me?
100% besides that.
If you can make that happen, if you could be very vigilant on that, then all the other things taste too sweet and too candy-like after a while. And if you go buy Cocoa Puffs or any Frosted Flakes, the amount of sugar that's in there is higher than a candy bar sometimes, if you actually look at the calculation. So there's tons of sugar in the processed food. And I found that if I had my coffee with cream instead of low-fat milk, it tastes sweeter in that piece too.
Yeah, I use whipping cream. I use whipping cream in my coffee.
Yeah. So I would say that a lot of people's cravings for sugar is twofold. If they're not getting good oils in their system, then in a weird way, the body tries to convert sugar into oil, into fat.
So interesting.
So some of my clients, after they are they're getting a little bit healthier, they can change their diet a little bit. And I tell them, I think you're addicted to gluten and I think you're addicted to sugar because it's numbing up the pain. So if I give you some body work and we get the pain down, maybe you can let go of your food diet piece. So it's a double-edged sword that we've learned how to adapt by taking this food in so we don't have to feel this other stuff.
So maybe like a little ramp up time of as they come off of more and more gluten and sugar, at some point they can go 100%, especially if they get
Yeah.
cleared of a lot of the dysfunction, like worked on a little
Right.
bit. We got
So
vegetables, we got green vegetables, we have gluten-free, sugar-free, peanut and almond-free.
Yeah.
And then tell us more.
make sure you're having a good glass of good water. If you can, ideally would be getting water that's been from a spring that has labeled spring on it, because the government does regulate that a little bit more.
Oh,
And if you have city water, it's got fluoride and chlorine in it and other toxins in it. So even though people say, well, I'm drinking my water, if it's coming from a city tap, it probably has some pollution. You're taking 3 steps forward, but have 2 steps back because of the toxins in the water.
yeah. Jen just found that they're actually, in some municipalities, they use aluminum. They actually use
Yep.
aluminum to take away the microbial stuff, and supposedly they filter it back out again. But yeah, they're using aluminum as well. It's
Yeah.
great.
And they don't test for birth control pills, and they don't test for psychotropics. So everybody that's on Prozac and all the medications, they don't really check the levels of what that's in the water system that we're drinking. Like I know you guys have springs and wells, and even the aquifers that the cities use are a little bit better. But like in Chicago, they say when you pour a glass in the Chicago water, somebody else has drank that 7 times before you get to drink it.
Wow, wonderful. Wow. So, okay,
Right.
so we got water and then the
The
nutrition.
diets, yeah. And then I would say if try the immune, for supplements, I would recommend my Immune Regen and my GI Regen in that order. And then there's a little essential oil we have called Congestex, which people can't swallow. There's an herbal that we've invented called Congestex that has 8 different essential oils in it that regenerate the thymus from a essential oil property.
And the thymus is really important. Do you want to just touch on that a little bit? Like, what is that all about? Because a lot
Sure.
of it goes away as you get older and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. So we'll go back and give you some medical perspective in it. Everybody learns, and most healthcare professionals forget where the thymus gland is, but it actually sits under your breastbone here. And in medical text, it says it works from 0 to 7 years old to help build your immune system. And then after 7 years old, it sort of shrivels up and dies. Well, I have to disagree with that statement. I feel, and through our research here that we've done, is the thymus is an organ that should stay with us for our whole life, and should be it should almost look like a big orange, yellow sponge, about a 1/2 inch thick and about the size 4 inches thick. And that's what I try to, when I have people take the Immune Regen, that seems to happen over a 6 to 9 month period, and all their colds, asthmas, and allergies just disappear when I can feel this being fed that amount. So what does the thymus do? In literature, it said it is the historian of all your old diseases. So when somebody says, I've been exposed to mumps or I've been exposed to chickenpox, this is the gland that holds that whole piece inside itself.
And so even infections like herpes or something, if somebody's had a long history of that kind of thing, we've seen that go away. Is that part of why that happens?
Yes. Yeah. So in our immune system, if you want to see how smart your doctor is, here's a mean way because Western medicine doesn't think this way, but you can ask your doctor, I've heard of these things called T cells, and they're really big in cancer, and they're a type of white blood cell. So you can ask your doctor, I know there's T cells in the body, but what does the T stand for again? And the T stands for thymus. Okay. So white blood cells and red blood cells come from the bone marrow, and they have a cycle between 90 days up to maybe 200 days, depending on what type of cell it is. When they come out, they're babies, and they have to grow up before they're active. So the T cell white blood cells go to the training ground of the thymus, and they pick up all the information on what does a mumps look like, what does measles look like, what does herpes look like, what does all these things, and they wear it as radars on the outside. They're the eyeballs of that white blood cell. Now, when you have autoimmune diseases and where you have a weakened thymus, the white blood, that baby white blood cell can't go get trained in there. So now it's coming out and it's only half trained, so it's half blind, so it's bumping into things, and half the time it doesn't even know what it is, and starts to attack itself. So when we open up the thymus and train it the right way, then half the things that clients get diagnosed by their doctors as the autoimmune diseases, or if you hear an advertisement for your skin, all the skin pills out there, like, you know,
Your psoriasis and stuff like that.
psoriasis and everything else, and they call that an autoimmune disease. When you re-educate the immune system to recognize, then you don't have the rashes anymore.
Because you don't need to go attack your own skin.
Right. So Western medicine, and when they give you that long list, don't have tuberculosis, make sure you have no other autoimmune diseases. They're trying to destroy the immune system so it's not expressing itself, instead of saying, why is my immune system attacking me again? So when we educate it, all those things disappear.
So these like the immune regen has all these different models from scientific things and ancient healing methods, Ayurvedic and everything.
And it actually has some animal tissue that has thymus in it, has lung tissue in it. So in nutrition, we call that glandular medicine.
Mhm.
And
Eating liver or something?
yeah, so just think about the last time you had a nice piece of liver and onions, and, you know,
Last
we
week,
talk-
we eat liver once a week.
yeah. Well, just think, you know, I remember my parents saying they had it once a week, and my age group, 50 and below, I don't think anybody goes for liver and onions unless you're a health perspective person, like a trainer like you know that.
Yeah.
But we've gotten rid of all the organ meat.
Mhm.
And if you go to a good Jewish deli, you can get liver, you can get tongue, you can get chopped liver, you can have kidney,
Mhm.
and in every single culture, they had organ meat preparations for everything,
Like pate.
and pates, and but those have minerals and vitamins. And I can give you a little bit of a case study of my of a client. He's in his 70s. He is a chef, and I've been he comes in once or twice a month to just make sure he's healthy, but he had some heart problems, and we gave a community talk. Like next Wednesday I have a community talk on breathing,
If you
and
look those online, let me know.
okay, we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I made pate for the group so they can try it, and I had an extra container, and it was just too much for me to have, so I gave him a small Tupperware, like you get a deli container of it, and the next week he was 5 times better. He ate it all week long, and it just reminded me how many minerals are in the glands and the organs that we forget about. So that's why bone broth is so popular nowadays.
We
It's
drank ours
taking-
last night, every night.
Yeah. So that bone broth is glands of the bone, and that's where the white blood cells live. That's where
Wow.
stem cells live. So people are thinking, I can't do that gland. Bone broth is exactly what you're doing with them, those pieces of the same.
It's kind of, it wasn't it Hippocrates that said make food your medicine?
Yeah.
So the
So-
immune regen is kind of like taking parts of that in a real supercharged way. You can still do it with your food, and then this just really boosts you if you're having if you really need to.
It's all besides 2 or 3 minerals, which would be zinc and calcium and glutathione. It's all been plant derived or animal derived in there. So it's actually like eating the best organ that you could. And the thymus in cooking is called sweetbreads.
Yeah.
So it is something that we've eaten in our cultures before, and really brings back the support. So let me give you another piece of why the thymus is important. Did you ever have a cold where you really cough a lot and then you start hitting your chest?
Yeah.
And that's a reflex, right? It's ingrained. Kids hit their chest and everybody. So that's like the brain saying, I need to shake up my lungs. But when you strike right here, you're actually pressing on that sponge and you're squirting out all your white blood cells to the immune system.
I've heard that that's something that we do sometimes before we run. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
somebody told me that, and
Yeah.
it can really pop up and feel powerful.
Right. So it's called thymus tapping or just tapping. And the other piece about doing that before you run, Ralph, is that we call these in IMT the O2 centers too,
Oh yeah.
right here. And there's also kidney 27, which is one of the organizers of flow in the body at the same time. So a lot of different forms of medicine have used that to develop things.
It's incredible. Before we run, we can do
Yeah.
that. We feel really good.
So the immune regen is the perfect package of trying to get the thymus regenerated. But in the meantime, it builds the white blood cell at an individual level. It has antivirals in it like tribulus and ashwagandha and astragalus.
And
So we went and
before you
took
go,
that whole from it.
you have a unique way to make sure, because I remember people used to come in and you and Sharon would they'd come in with their bag of supplements and you guys would be like, there's no plan to what's in their bag. It's like it's not working together. How did you figure out that these things work together and find the that this version was better than that version of, say, Tribulus? How did you I know how you did it, but it'd be cool for them to hear a little of that story.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left before I have to go to my client. But we were both in our original degrees physical therapists. So we came from let's get the muscle better and stronger. And then we learned nutrition to apply to that. Where a lot of nutritionalists, naturopaths, even acupuncture and doctors are just, oh, this herb fixes that, that herb fixes this. So you've experienced it and I've experienced where we were actually working on a muscle and then the supplement came in their body and we could actually feel the muscle we could feel the blood flow getting into it, it got softer. So we actually were able to feel how that vitamin coursed through the body and made that better. It's not a new process because 6,000 years ago, the Chinese medicine called it pulse diagnosis, and 7,000 years ago, the Ayurvedic said it was another type of pulse diagnosis. So it's been in our history, but nobody ever named it for that. Applied kinesiology uses a thing called chiropractic muscle testing.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's another one called EAB, which is electrical acupuncture ball, which is actually a machine that can take your biorhythms and you can actually see it on a chart. And some people use a pendulum for it also. So there's many ways to make sure that herb works the best on the body. So we were studying nutrition, and supplement companies wanted to educate us why they were the best in one field or another. So we studied these different facets, and they would say, well, this one's really good for the lungs. And we would say, why is it good for the lungs? And they wouldn't be able to answer the question. And then we would say, oh, that opens up the blood supply. Oh, that does this. So we put it to practical, functional feeling and structure. So when you ever offer me a new herb and we both investigate, we share that stuff. You tell me, I think it's good for the brain, and I'll go and put my hands on the brain and see if it does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So we went, and when we had these other tablets, we took all the nutrition and ordered them from the herbal companies, and we searched out, and this company said we've been around for 200 years and we have the best herbs, and some of that was true and some of it wasn't. So we actually knew what quality felt like, right? So like, what a fresh egg looks like from somebody that's grown their own chickens, and then you get the store version of it.
Yeah.
One's orange and one's yellow. So we have processes that help determine that. And even to this day, before I put all that formula into a tablet, I ask the company that's doing it to send me all the herbs so I can actually pulse test it to my customers. And they do a whole bunch of research. They test it for heavy metals, poisons, leads, and toxicities along the way to make sure it's safe.
That's really important. Yeah. That's cool. I know you're running out of time, and we'll get you back next week, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so we'll talk more about any overreaching strategy, but this is a good point to really get people going. And I'll link to your links again, but any way you want to just say quickly how they can have a bit of time with you, a session, or,
Yeah.
and then get the right supplements for them, or get the immune regen, GI regen.
So my email address is info@IMT Wellness Center. And the telephone number here is 860-561-2286. And they can call and we can do a 15-minute free consultation. And in the paper that I put out,
Oh, yeah, the paper.
the white paper that we put out, if you can make that available on your website too, it's
Well,
just in there is how to take the herbs, how to stay diet free, and then there's some hand acupressure you can do on yourself to boost your immune system. And we're just trying to keep everybody healthy.
That's great, man. Yeah, we'll get it out to everybody and put it on our Miracles, Magic, and Coffee site and other places, and I'll put it out in the email too. Thank you, Tom. We'll get back on it. It's so good to have you back, and I know this is a big month, February, so so grateful you're here, and thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm glad I'm back talking with you guys.
Awesome.
See you
Man.
next week.
Okay, see you
Okay.
next. Bye, man.
Bye.
All right, you guys. So that's another episode, and Jen is out and about with Baden, and we'll say bye to Dr. Tom, and I will send all this in an email to you guys, and yeah, look for his, and we'll talk to you soon.